He has a case that cannot succeed.
From Gary Bredefeld's threats of suing the city and state to essential versus non-essential. Is the shelter-in-place order infringing on people's constitutional rights? We'll hear from the former U.S. District Judge hired by George H.W. Bush. Oliver Wanger will lay out the legal facts versus politics.
Immediately following opening schools again, then we're shutting beaches down, which also seems to me to be a little bit of a disconnect.
Is starting the school year in July or August too soon? Governor Newsom is not ruling it out, but is the third largest school district in the state ready for learning while social distancing? Fresno Unified Superintendent Bob Nelson joins me exclusively. And our panel is ready to weigh in, from Fresno City Council members at odds with each other to the Mayor Lee Brand surprise new order. It's all on KC24, Sunday Morning Matters.
Now, from KC24, your local election headquarters, with your host, Alexan Balakian. This is Sunday Morning Matters.
And good Sunday morning to you. I'm Alexan Balakian. Thank you for joining us. And please join the conversation at Real Alexan. Use the hashtag Sunday Morning Matters. Along the way, we head to the state capitol as Governor Newsom rolls out the first phase of reopening. But first, Fresno City Council members at odds, delivering verbal jabs all week long as the mayor ignores it all and then extends the stay-at-home order.
The previous order was set to expire at midnight on May 6th. This order extends until May 31st. Recognize that patience is running thin. People want to get back to work and businesses want to open their doors. And the most important part, we have to ensure that whatever we do is done in a safe, methodical manner and that mitigation measures to assure the public that it's safe. But what this does, it opens the gate for thousands of employees to come back to work, hundreds of businesses to reopen, and making a major step in rebuilding the Fresno economy.
On Friday, Fresno Mayor Lee Brand extending the city's shelter-in-place order until May 31st. Residents will now be mandated to wear a mask inside any store, but they will not be policed or cited if they don't. Only a lack of entry will be the consequence. What the mayor did not offer was an exact date when some non-essential businesses will get to reopen. Those stores include furniture, retail, and restaurants. The mayor's announcement drawing lots of criticism and even his task force by surprise.
6 weeks ago when I voted on this, I was worried about people's lives. Now I'm worried about their lives and their livelihood.
That puts us not on the same page, and we quite frankly are petitioning the governor of California to allow the Central Valley as a region to open sooner rather than later. As many of you know, we are not quite experiencing COVID-19 at the levels that you see in Los Angeles County or New York or even the Bay Area.
As you heard there from Fresno County Supervisor Steve Brandow and, of course, Fresno City Councilman Mike Carbasi, they say they were blindsided by the mayor's extension, saying they were never told about his plan. Henry Perea, who is on the task force, also telling me they had no idea. Others took to the street to be heard. A small group gathered at Blackstone and Shaw on Friday afternoon to protest that they be allowed to go back to work. Well, lots to sort out with our very opinionated panel this week. Let's take roll call. Fresno City Council member Gary Bredefeld and local prosecutor, former Fresno mayoral candidate and former 2018 congressional candidate Andrew Jans. Gentlemen, thank you for being with me.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Well, all right, let's start with this. Mayor Brand's extension, May 31st, no shirt, no shoes, no mask, no entry to these stores here locally that are open at this point. So, Gary, I'm going to start with you. You've had a lot to say. You believe this is unconstitutional, but is it also within the framework of the state during the state of emergency and what the governor is mandating?
Yeah, well, the governor's orders are also unconstitutional. It's against the U.S. Constitution. It's against the California Constitution. And the Mayor Brand extending it to May 31st is absurd. People were hoping that he was going to release his order May 7th. It was nothing but a head fake because, frankly, the mayor takes his marching orders for Governor Newsom. You're witnessing on a local level, on a state level, tyrannical, authoritarian government. And people have had enough. The government does not have a right to destroy business and decide which businesses live and which businesses die. And that's exactly what's happened. There is no reason why non-essential businesses that they call, I hate that term, but non-essential businesses.
Well, Andrew, I want to let you come in here because you ran for mayor. You were going to run against Mayor Brand, but then he decided not to run. And obviously, Jerry Dyer will be the next Fresno mayor. But you look at this, and is Gary Bredefeld right?
You know, believe it or not, I think that Lee Brand has shown amazing courage and leadership throughout all of this. It's hard to make these decisions, and I don't think that any of these orders are unconstitutional. You know, I'm a prosecutor, and there are defendants that try to represent themselves sometimes, and they go out there and they throw out the First Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the Fifth Amendment. They get laughed out of court. This is completely constitutional, and if it wasn't constitutional, then I don't think that Council Member Bredefeld should have ceded the mayor this authority on March 16th when he voted to allow him to do exactly what he's doing, which is keeping the citizens of Fresno safe.
No, I didn't allow that, and I never voted for that. I gave him an emergency order, not an order to shelter in place or to destroy businesses. And if you think it is unconstitutional, the First Amendment is the right for freedom and movement. That's been restricted. The Fifth and the 14th Amendment is about protecting rights and a right to operate business, equal protection. Everybody's treated equally under the law. The California Constitution has a right to liberty. All of that is illegal, and that's what's going on. So there are violations of the Constitution.
Let me intervene.
Hold on 1 second. I mean, I have it right here. Gary, you voted for it.
I voted to give him an emergency order.
Proclamation of emergency.
Yes.
Arias, Caprioli, Osorio,
yes.
Chavez, Bredefeld.
I just said that. I just said I voted. I gave him the authority. No. We declared a state of emergency and a local emergency. That's what we did. That freed up money. Then he went on his own, shelter in place before the governor did, and then he decided to shut down businesses that operate in other communities. That was never voted on. That's his own doing. And unfortunately, the city council could override him, but there isn't enough votes to do so.
But let's move on to this, because I want to get this in. Small business loans, 116 small businesses this week scored a PPP loan, and again, those are small businesses from $5,000 to $10,000, but there were 2,600 applicants. Andrew, let me start with you. Is this fair and balanced by the city? Or is it look like they're playing favorites here when they're kind of picking out businesses out of a hat to see who gets what?
Well, you know, I think that, well, first let me say this. My wife is a small business owner, and we're impacted by all of this, too. And so I really feel for the business owners that are out there trying to keep their workers employed. I know that my wife and I are trying to keep her employees employed. So I think that we have to look at some of these on a case-by-case basis. You know, I do agree with Gary. In certain circumstances, you have places like Best Buy and Target selling stuff and doing the curbside pickups that, you know, some of the other folks aren't able to do. And so I want to make sure that we're able to look at this on a case-by-case basis, make sure that some of these small businesses have the infrastructure and the ability to make sure that there's social distancing and all the things that we need to know, that we need to do to make sure that people don't spread or contract the disease.
Gary, what are your thoughts on that? Obviously, you saw Miguel Arias and Esmeralda Soria do the press conference on this.
Yeah, that's what you're referring to as the loans that the city was able to set up. And we have about 10, 15 businesses in each council district. They all applied. It was set up by a lottery system. This was the city's efforts to try to help. I mean, obviously, the federal government is really responsible to help, but the city did its part, and we want to try to help them some more. What Andrew's alluding to.
But Gary, let me interrupt, because Mike Carbasi called a press conference, and I got 30 seconds here, saying that Soria and Esmeralda Soria said that there was going to be some help from the EOC, but that actually didn't happen because the EOC says that there wasn't any funding.
Well, that's the dialogue that Councilman Carbasi did. Frankly, Councilman Carbasi was the one who really brought this forward, and he had this discussion. Apparently, they didn't follow through, so he expressed his concern about that. All
right, guys, we got a lot more to come. I think the fireworks are just starting. We'll get to Crazy Bernie's situation in a little bit. Guys, hang tight. And coming up, Councilman Gary Bredefeld looks to sue the city of Fresno, but does he actually have a case? The former judge, Oliver Wanger, next.